From the Family Support Expo in Toronto, Canada, this is The Smart Divorce on Divorce Source Radio with Deborah Moskovich, and I'm Steve Peck. And Deb, today we're talking about how the brain can actually affect our relationships. It's called neuroplasticity.
And our guest today is David Folk, who is the co-founder and CEO of Next. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Next? I know that it has to do with neuroplasticity, but what does that mean?
Sure. The science of love, family, and happiness really is our raison d'etre and the science that powers all of our programs and products at Next. What we set out to do was find out how and why people trade in their families. Why would you trade in your family for the hope of something better if you actually knew the statistics? 50%, 60%, 70% chance of failure. Who rolls the dice like that? And so Natalie, our co-founder, and I began to explore there must be more reason than just I feel like it. And it turns out that it's very science-based.
So just a minute, and for our listeners that just love our podcast, David's referring to Natalie Boutet, who we've interviewed a number of times, who has helped us a lot with brain science as well.
Indeed. So Natalie comes at this very honestly from her childhood when her family had two breakups before she was 20. So when I met her, she was, I guess you could say, a student of this world as I was. I had a very difficult family upbringing, a lot of conflict, a lot of impact. And I grew up really ardently focused on never going through that, and then I found out that that's got nothing to do with it, and actually you're probably going to go through that at some point in your life. The odds are you are. And if you aren't, someone close to you is. Mm-hmm. So our exploration was, why? Why is there literally nothing you can do in the world? No education, no knowledge of the impacts, the impact on kids, the physical impact on you, watch your friends do it. How come that doesn't keep you from doing it? And so we were able to discover the science of why that is.
And what does that mean, the science of why that is?
Well, so what we discovered is there's a lot of knowledge about how the brain works, but little knowledge about how it applies in our most important relationships. So how do we form and maintain a relationship that fulfills us and nurtures us is a question that literally no one would be able to answer easily.
So are you saying that we can rewire our brain patterns?
Absolutely.
And so how do you change that?
It's very good. Well, can we just go back in history a moment? When we started off, actually the book that changed it all had not come out yet. Norman Deutsch is a local Toronto author, and he wrote a groundbreaking book that was released about 4 years ago called The Brain That Changes Itself. Prior to that time, science and medicine knew that we had this natural capability as human beings called neuroplasticity. It's actually the action mechanism in your brain that allows you to make a new neural pathway. And it happens millions of times a minute, and it happens all throughout your life. We also knew that those patterns of thinking, if you will, those neural pathways could be changed, but it never became part of common thinking and science. When Deutsch wrote this book, believe it or not, science and medicine embraced it. It's rarely a book that changes the direction of an entire scientific movement, but it was indeed that book that allowed researchers to start to say, there must be something that we don't actually know fully. And you saw the whole scientific community line up behind Deutsch, who wrote chronicles of people who had lost a portion of their brain through stroke, trauma, surgery, or who had some other debilitating brain-based condition that had rendered them first unable to function and then miraculously able to function.
Wow.
And what he was able to show is the brain has the ability to restructure itself.
So, that's amazing.
It's amazing.
So it's like because especially when you mention stroke, where you literally have a dead portion of the brain, right? So you're saying that it finds different paths. It works around that.
It does. And
That's
now there's
cool.
there are instances now. So this is where neuroscience has gone on this. Brain surgery used to be the words you didn't want to hear. If you needed brain surgery, this is big trouble, right?
Yeah.
There are instances now where neurosurgeons have intentionally removed portions of people's brains, knowing that they would be able to regain full function. And you can actually go on YouTube and watch people there's a girl who 10 days after having half her brain removed is fully functioning.
It's phenomenal.
Now, but here's the trick. So that's great if you have half your brain removed, but what does it mean to the average person going through life? That's where we went with next.
So, wait, can I just ask you something
Sure.
then? So just to help me better understand this, because I attended a session where we talk a lot about brain science.
Good.
And so babies are born with millions upon millions of neurons that
Right.
are constantly growing.
Right.
And then as we age, don't we lose some of that? So
Well-
then how does that
I lost a lot in the
change?
70s,
Yeah,
but
that's different.
another-
Depends on how you went through high school. Well, so let's first principles. Yes, you're born with fewer neurons than you have when you reach adult life. Science believes that there's about 100 billion neurons in the average human being, like Steve says, less depending on how you went through high school. But what we don't really know is how many are in use at any one time.
Okay.
And the trick is, more or less, it still produces you.
So you could fire other neurons.
Yeah.
Then if you're not using some, you can fire up others.
Right. And your brain does that anyway. You don't even have to ask it to do that. So where we went with our scientific exploration is, if you can rewire a physical limitation, stroke, impact, surgery, then why can't you rewire an emotional or psychological impact or deficiency? I mean, we all have the experience of moving our arms and legs pretty much however we want. We're very trained in that. But we still wake up in the morning and our emotions slap us around, right? Like we're babies. Right? You don't wake up in the morning and poke yourself in the eye by accident with your fork, but you certainly do that with your emotions. You let them rule you. I mean, some people are ruled before they get out of bed. You ever have that experience where you wake up in the morning and it's like, oh.
Well, you follow the same patterns.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. So we went out in a scientific exploration to say, if you can change those other patterns of behavior, if you can build a bigger bicep by doing curls, what would the equivalent be in terms of neuroplasticity? And we literally did read the book, talk to some neuroscientists, read thousands of papers, and develop what we believe were the world's first neuroplastic exercises. And they worked.
So give us an example of what one of those exercises would be.
Well, actually, I was the subject of our first exercise because after going through a particularly terrible period after my divorce in 2000, and I should just tell you that we used best practices across the board, collaborative law, divorce coach, who is also our mediator, parenting training, parenting plan, 2.5-year process, very gentle separation. Kids were 11 and 12. It turned out as bad as it could possibly turn out. It was the Nightmare on Elm Street meets our household.
Surprising.
It is under the circumstances,
Yeah.
but then when you look at the impact on kids losing their families, not so surprising when we look back. Some kids act out more, and we just happen to have a couple of very act-out kids. But the point is that we went through a terrible time when, particularly my daughter was deep inside the Canadian and then the U.S. mental health system, and we had the experience of nothing working. It certainly kept her alive, right? So she went through wilderness therapy. She went through the therapeutic boarding system in Utah. And it definitely kept her alive, and it definitely made her somewhat better. But we saw the limitations of modern medicine.
So when you say that she had problems, I don't want to be too invasive.
No,
but
that's
is
fine.
Mental wellness.
I used to be the chair of Kids Help Phone National Board, so I'm a public story on all of this.
Okay, so is it mental wellness issues or mental health issues?
Oh no, she was suicidal.
Okay.
Yeah, so was my son. And not once, and not twice, and not 10 times.
And
more,
that, as
more
a
than
parent,
This was after the divorce?
After the divorce. And,
So
and
you
they
think
would
that
say
was a trigger?
They would both say that it was absolutely a trigger.
Wow.
And a bunch of other things that related to that.
Okay, so then you were looking for ways to help your kids.
Well, for sure. And what I learned was that the best that the system has to offer, regardless of the price, is still very limiting inside of what we would think of care. If you think of going to the doctor, you go to the doctor expecting to get well. If you go to the mental health system, you dare not go expecting to get well. What you might dare hope for is expecting to moderate the impact of whatever you're suffering from so that you don't suffer so much. You might consider it somewhat well, but it certainly isn't well the way people think about it. And I would say don't go, like if there's a way to keep from going down that depressive road, that anxious road, or whatever the equivalent is, take every step to do that. It's not like losing weight. It's much harder.
Not very helpful.
Not very, well, extremely helpful, but not very effective in terms of backing you out of this terrible place. So here's the answer to your first question. So by 2008, after a period of tremendous resilience, this is now, we're in our 9th year of this, I eventually succumbed myself and I got very depressed. And it was the financial crisis, and I'm in the financial industry, so I didn't have the luxury of being depressed and non-functioning. I was depressed and functioning. And we had begun to explore these neuroplastic exercises. And we had begun to explore what the action mechanisms are that would allow you to rewire a pattern that was having an acute impact on you. And sitting on a couch in a ski chalet in the West, over a period of a couple of days applying these exercises, I was able to rewire the pattern that was producing the primary depressive conditions, and it never fired again.
Wow, that's amazing. So can you give us a little hint of what some of these exercises were?
Sure.
Yeah, and how long it takes, because it sounds like good. That was a very short period of time.
It was, although what we've learned since then is that it's not much different than physical exercises. The conditions under which you do these exercises are paramount. So if you were training for a marathon, you would want to be well-fed, well-hydrated, well-rested. You'd want to be psychologically prepared. You want to have cleared time in your schedule to do the training that's required. And then you'd want to do it over a period of time so that it became kind of habitual, right? So same with neuroplastic exercises. However, they tend to be done in periods of 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, not training for a marathon would be hours. And then the trick is to have all those conditions present, and then through our, and I'm going to say at this point, proprietary technology, you would learn how to create a condition of neuroplastic affect, and learn to be able to switch the patterns on and off until you're able to switch it off permanently. This is basically the way it works. And we've now done this with enough people that we know that healthy adults and young adults, and we believe late adolescents, all should be able to do this, which is why we've begun to proliferate our technology through partners and a licensing program under our patents.
What types of situations would this be used for? I mean, it's depression is one.
Sure. Anxiety.
So people who are suffering panic attacks.
Even less than that. Low-grade anxiety affects about 60% of the Western world right now. So that persistent buzz that makes you sort of feel like you're not quite right. But on that end of the spectrum, all the things that rot the core out of marriage and family relationships: resentment, unfulfilled expectations, regret, remorse, resignation, disgust, contempt, disillusionment. All of those things are deeply prevalent in our modern society. And if you go over onto the other side of the ledger, eat less is a pattern. Smoke less, drink less. Where we've drawn the line is substance dependencies. So because we don't play in the healthcare world at all, we are a curriculum-based training and development organization, not in the healthcare business. Right. We're just going to train you how to use your brain better and rewire it.
Okay, basically. So let's go back to the families and how you train to use your brain better. Here we are at the Family Support Expo, and, I'm a divorce coach, so I'm helping
And a
families.
very good divorce coach, I might add, for anyone who's listening.
Thank you. Helping individuals through the process. Sadly, people will come into my office thinking that divorce is the only option.
For sure.
They don't realize that there's so many resources available to them, and one of the first things that I do is say, send them for couples counseling, but now here's another resource that I can provide them is in terms of Next. So explain to me more about how I would help my clients through you maybe put that marriage back on track.
Very good. Well, so the first thing I want to say before I answer your question is Next is designed as a social enterprise, which means that we have a double bottom line. We're definitely a business, and we've invested a large amount of capital to get to where we are right now, and we're definitely out to create value. However, that value is measured in profit, but it's also measured in social impact. So, and because my background is in venture capital and in the charity world at Kids Help Phone, we've designed Next to fit with practices. So it wouldn't be your client or our client. It would be your client and our client. And the same goes for all the exhibitors here. It really doesn't matter what modality or line of business that you're in, mediator, arbitrator, collaborative lawyer, health coach, all of those things. It's designed to have all of that plug into what we do, and here's how. Okay?
Yeah.
So the core programs we offer are all the same length in time. They're 21 weeks long. They're an hour and a half a week. They're designed to be...
So it's a big investment of time.
It's a big
You've
investment
got to be
of time.
committed. You have to really want to be committed to make a change.
No, I wouldn't say that. You have to be willing to try.
Okay.
Because we would find that most people that go through our programs find them both enjoyable and quite infectious. It's designed to be very step by step, but not the kind of steps that you don't like to take. Because as you learn, well, first of all, you come in expecting to get rid of some of the worst feelings that you've ever had and probably reshape most of your important relationships. So this is kind of a big payoff, right? The next question is, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
Right? Well, not very much, actually, because in these successive weeks, you begin to learn how you've actually created the circumstances inside your brain that you're actually suffering from. You did that. Okay? Now, the next question is, if you could change that relatively easily, wouldn't you? We have a 92% effectiveness rating.
It's amazing.
92% of the objectives people set, and about 90% of the people achieve all of the results that we set out to achieve, and all of our programs are outcome-based. So you would send them to us, fully expecting to get them back, well, have them during the process, and get them back at the end with a complete set of new abilities and a software operating system that's run on the iPad that they can use as they go through the collaborative process, as they rejuvenate their marriages, as they teach their kids, as they become more effective at work. It's a holistic process. And if you happen to be, I met a lovely lady here that's in the, she's a naturopath, and she's all about neurotransmitters and supplements in order to improve your wellness on a day-to-day basis. She's fantastic, by the way. Well, it's as akin to what she's doing as to what you're doing. You're producing a much more able person or couple or family to go through whatever they have to go through.
So is it so when you talk about the family, is it just the parents that would go through this, or do you bring in the kids too?
Great question. Well, we thought a lot about that, and there's a lot of merit to offering programs for kids. But what we realized is that kids are a function of their family circumstances, and those circumstances are generally created by the parents. So we created the program to be first for a parent. Or both parents, if they're willing, but it wouldn't be a very good program if it only worked if both parents could agree, right? We have a fairly small percentage of parents that agree. So a parent or both parents. In the a-parent setting, the client quickly develops the ability to engage their partner in a different way. So we also have a over 80% success rate bringing the second partner into the program powerfully, like in wanting to. And so from there you have a platform which you can then take to the kids. Some of our applications are designed to be used by children as young as age 6, and we got kids using them, but under the guise of their family system. And believe it or not, kids produce pretty fast results when it comes to learning how to use their brains. They're very open to it.
Right. It seems like earlier would be better.
It seems. Yeah. Now, we haven't tried neuroplastic transformation with kids yet. That's a tall order, right? Because it requires a one-on-one relationship with children. But we're not actually seeing that they need it. Once their parents start to perform the way you'd actually expect your parents to perform, the kids toe into line.
Because the parents are modeling, right? And the kids are following their role modeling.
And they're following and they're mirroring.
Yeah.
Right? So if parents are producing threat-like behavior, the kids will model and mirror that behavior. And you'll get the exact results that you don't want. If the parents produce a healthy, fulfilling, accepting, understanding environment, rare, right? Whether the kids are performing or not, rare, then you end up with the result that you actually want, also rare. Pretty cool, eh?
It's really impressive.
But what about genetics? Depression, things like that, right? They say, hey, my mom had it, my dad had it, I have it.
So it's like a chemical, you're talking about like a chemical imbalance.
Right, something that's wrong within your brain, the way it fires, that creates that.
Excellent question. So there's no question that there are conditions that we carry from generation to generation, and there's excellent research that's been done to demonstrate, what the correlations are. But we all know that they're not one-to-one. Just because, the last 3 generations of your family had, pick something, heart disease, cancer, there's not a 100% correlation that you will. In fact, it's really quite a low correlation. It also depends on many of the other things that you do, how you live your life, and so on. So what we've noticed is it doesn't seem to matter inside of this work. Now, we're pretty young, right? We need lots more experience to be able to say this, but being able to rewire the way your brain works seems to have nothing to do with your genetic predisposition, unless it's a very, very acute instance. So let's take schizophrenia. We have no experience in that area.
Yeah.
Bipolar, a little bit. Depression, I believe depression is a condition, and that it isn't something that's handed down genetically, but I guess we'll find out in another decade what.
So I love what you're saying then, because like in terms of depression, and so many people, especially going through any kind of relationship crisis, are depressed very low. So this
Certainly
offers them a lot of hope.
Completely hope.
A lot of hope. So help us understand more then, like we talk about the signs of happiness and love. How can you help someone think about life differently with more hope?
Excellent. I noticed that you've got one of our worksheets in front of you. So let's just look at struggling. So it's actually opposite to the way you would think this would work, because we're used to doing a series of things in order to produce a result. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Patterns. We keep on following the same patterns over and over and over again.
We do. So if you think about the way people feel generally in relationship, and certainly if they're even thinking about separating, we have a little list here. Blamed, unappreciated, criticized, misunderstood, unwanted, rejected, punished, taken for granted, taken advantage of, unloved, and the whole series of emotions that come along with that. Now, did you know that you have some or all of the known 309 human emotions?
I do now. You learn something new every day.
Did you know that
309?
Did you know that 2/3 of them, roughly, are negative emotions, and 1/3 are positive emotions?
Wow, I have no idea. And how much of that is body language?
That's a good question. It would come out in body language a lot. And if you're sending it, I'm getting it, whether you're saying it or not.
But back to the number 309.
309. And the other interesting neuroscientific data point is they tend to fire a lot more. So a neuroscientist might tell you that they would fire about 10 times more than your positive emotions. Now, if you just think about that condition, 2/3 negative, firing more than positive, how would the general state of human being be unaddressed? Well, you'd be feeling bad, hoping to feel good. We call this coping.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
People who cope better feel better. But actually coping sucks. Coping sucks. Not coping sucks more.
You're really helping me reframe my thinking.
Excellent. Well, now let's go right over to how we produce the results and the answer to your question. So how would you like to feel in relationship? Well, this is the list on this worksheet. Understood, appreciated, accepted, supported, valued, loved, cherished, empowered, successful, passionate, forgiving, some combination of those. And those would produce substantially the 1/3 of emotions that we actually want. Now, here's the question. We're married. Let's just pretend we're married.
Okay.
Natalie, close your ears.
Sounds like a good fantasy.
So, you feel this way.
Yeah.
Blamed, unappreciated, criticized, right? I feel this way. Now, why do we feel this way? Well, we feel this way because we've been hurting each other intentionally and unintentionally for years, probably, right? It really got to the point where we didn't even care anymore. We just did what we did and we felt like we felt. So inside of our programs, if I can enable you to go in and distinguish the patterns, the brain patterns that produce the behavior that lead you to do this, and you can rewire them so they don't fire anymore, and you show up as none of these, how will I perceive you? Well, at least well.
Yeah.
At least well. I haven't done anything yet. All you've done is taken the natural step of getting rid of something that's drowning you. And what you'll notice in people is their natural selves show through, and their natural selves actually are understanding, appreciating, accepting, supporting. Notice how I changed the ED to ING?
Yeah.
Because you're not, until you're feeling not this, you can't feel this. You can't feel anxious and understanding at the same time.
So is this going back
You
to
get
the
that?
way, yes, and is this going back to the way that people felt in their relationship at the very beginning? So you're changing those patterns?
It might be. See, in the beginning, there isn't much baggage, right?
Yeah.
You're only seeing a very narrow snapshot of the person, and you haven't hurt each other yet. You haven't hurt each other intentionally or unintentionally. Now, when I do the same exercise and I get rid of all of my stuff, and I can show up as these positive, productive brain patterns, the result is the same almost every time. And inside our programs, we say, look, we're not here to keep your marriage together. We have no attachment to separate it or together. You do that. All we want to do is clear out all the debris so that you can actually decide authentically what you want to do. It would be no surprise that most people fall back in love again.
Which would be fabulous.
Would be fabulous.
But if they don't fall back in love, the other positive thing is then that you are moving forward with all that emotional baggage, so that when we
Precisely.
talk about second marriages or 60% divorce rate, third time, 70%, chances are that's not going to happen.
Our raison d'etre is the epidemic of dysfunction in family, breakdown, and divorce is in sharp decline. That's what we're out to do with our enabling technology.
And you're better parents.
Imagine a 20% divorce rate. It's easily achievable inside of this technology, but look what we did with smoking in the workplace.
Yeah.
Look what we did with drunk driving. Right? It's easily achievable as long as you give people the action mechanism and the time. This isn't a one-year fix. But do we want a society in 25 years where kids don't even believe in relationship, let alone marriage? They already don't believe in marriage. Right? Marriage is a thing that you try. Yeah, I'm going to try that out. Let's check it out, see how that's going to go.
I think this is really wonderful. Although you're putting me out of work, which I think is
No,
great.
we're going to put you in work. because honestly, so what we envision,
Yeah.
you think back to the dawn of the internet, right? Before the internet, we used to send couriers and letters. Remember that?
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Snail mail, yeah.
Yeah, so we created email and we created internet connectivity. Now, who built the service industry? There was no service industry. It's now one of the largest industries in the world. You're just a member of one of the largest industries in the world that's being
Sadly,
born.
I am. Sadly, I am.
Yeah. So I would actually say that our work suggests that we'll need more people like you than there are teachers already working
Well, David, you
in
sold me.
the industry.
It's amazing.
It's a big industry.
So you sold me. So if I'm hoping that we sell many of our listeners. So
I don't
how
know.
do they find out more about Next and to access your program?
Well, certainly from a program point of view, you'd come to us directly by phone or www.thenextprogram.com. And as a business matter, because we're as interested in partnering and building our business as we are in delivering our programs, you'd come directly to me.
And your phone number is?
416-646-3376, direct line.
Thank you. That's been so informative.
Fascinating.
You guys are great, by the way.
You know, what is it? I used to hear that we only use a percentage of our brain, a small percentage of our brain.
I think that lies in the museum of modern myths about the brain. So what our neuroscientists tell us, and we have some pretty top neuroscientists that we work with, is that there are times in the day where you're using all of your faculties and they're insufficient. So consider that from 1990, the load on the average person has increased by 100 times. The amount of data you collect in a day, the number of impressions, the connectivity, that's a lot 100 times. So chances are you actually don't have enough processing power through most points of the day to actually do what you do. That's the average state of affairs of human being these days. So it's no longer about we don't use all our brain. It's really about we're using it up.
Then have you heard, Deborah, in the past they used to say how many computers it would actually take to duplicate what your brain does every second of every day.
It's so remarkable when you think about 100 billion neurons firing at millisecond speeds.
Right.
We're just getting started.
Isn't
Do you know
it?
about the wearable computer?
No, I don't.
So the wearable computer was a lab experiment 2 years ago, and we're a year away from having an appliance you'll be able to wear that'll measure at least 6 primary body functions that relate to how your brain is working, not just pulse.
Kind of like a high-tech
Yeah.
mood ring.
Yeah, like a high-tech mood ring, and that's just the start, because of course, who wouldn't want to produce better states of being, if you could, cheaply? Now, these wearable computers are going to come in under $200. Then
Phenomenal.
you're really on wheels. right?
Yeah.
Then you're
And it's
really
affordable. It's affordable, and you really are
Yeah.
reaching out and changing society. Actually, now, I mean, we are, talking about divorce and separation, but I know that you work with organizations.
We do.
So as a leader, if I'm the chair or CEO of an organization, and I see that my board is falling apart, and there's no communication, they just can't work together, it's really destructive to the company.
Perfect.
Is this something that I would bring into my
It is.
organization as well?
We've just introduced, good for you, about a month ago, we just introduced a pilot program called the Executive Program. We now feel like we have enough experience to responsibly go into a major corporation, and so we're talking to some Fortune 500 companies where their executive suite is the most challenging environment imaginable, because everything we just talked about comes to work every day. And by the way, it follows you, right? Follows you on your handheld device, follows you on your email, follows you on your mobile, social networking. And your kids know that.
Yeah.
And it's very distracting. So the CEOs we talk to say, the biggest problem I have is a human dynamics problem. So
And ego. Is it where does ego fall into this?
It's not coming out much. No. I don't see. People are so busy at the corporate level these days. That's the least of their problems. Financial crisis, competition, and human dynamics are the top three. But we'll be running these programs inside of some of these management teams fairly soon, and we'll be able to demonstrate how this happens at work. We already know, because we have clients that have taken what they've gotten in the program to work. Guess what? They're immensely more productive. They're much more likable, much more inspirational leaders, and their experience of it is all better too.
That's cool.
Amazing.
Very nice.
Amazing. So you've got a lot of research too that you can share.
We do, and we have 30,000 hours of development that went into our current set of products and programs.
How long has it taken to get this whole program together?
I guess you could really say April 10th, 2010 was our start date, but we were just a small startup incubated inside of our venture firm. It really got going when we filed our patent in May. So that was only a few months ago. So we're kind of a second startup. We started off as a small business with big ideas, and now we have enabling technology.
But isn't that fabulous? From an idea and a concept, you've actually taken it and made something of it.
That's a perfect match, too, with his VC background.
We're hoping.
You have to have cash to make these wheels turn.
Well, that and, as we see from the conference here, you have to have a community that understands. I would say 90+% of the people that have come up to our booth get it right away. And by the way, credit to Natalie. She's the one who tapped me on the shoulder twice. The first time she said brain, and I said, nah, brain has nothing to do with it. The second time she tapped me a little harder.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. And brain too, and I've talked to Natalie Batat quite extensively about, brain science and how we have to change our way of thinking and reframing and what we have to do. And that is the way that's going to move you forward.
It is.
Rather than carrying around all that emotional baggage. So once again, before we end, if you have any parting thoughts?
Well, I just want to say, the elephant in the room is, so David, have you done the program, and have you applied the technology in daily life, and what's your experience of that? So the answer is yes, and my experience of it is everything that I've been talking about. So Natalie and I are graduates of our own program. We apply it at home. I have gone from being a German-raised, righteous, intelligent person who grew up. The only way to survive in our culture, in our German family, was to be right. And the more right you were, the better you survived. It didn't make me the most enjoyable person to be around. And having done all this work, and Natalie and I are blending our families, I can honestly say that I go through not just days, but days and days where I have literally no counterproductive thoughts and emotions. And the sense of peace and the amount of extra brain space to do things is unbelievable. And now we're showing up in our 10-year-old. Our 10-year-old is unbelievably empowered, and she could have this conversation with you. She could talk about her brain patterns. She knows what's going on.
Smart.
So it's quite amazing.
And your kids?
Well, my son has been through the program and relieved himself of crippling anxiety and is now fully functioning 22-year-old. My daughter's a little different story. She's a young mother. She's got a 2-year-old. It's a pretty difficult, busy life for the path that she's chosen in her marriage. But she's gotten through 1/3 of the program and gotten some relief. She's going to need to be able to demonstrate the will to get all the way through. It's not that hard, but young mother, you've been there. The hardest thing to do is concentrate more than 5 minutes in a row. So I think that we're going to see her succeed here in the next little
But she's
while.
got great role modeling and support,
Yeah.
and I think that that's a big part of it as well.
And she's much better for it. She just hasn't gotten all the way through yet.
Great. And once again, how do our listeners get in touch with you?
You're the best. www.thenextprogram.com. And actually, I'll give you my cell phone number, 416-669-6700. We are a personal touch company, and if I can't get back to you, somebody will.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
David,
My pleasure.
very cool. I'm excited about it.
You guys are great.
As always, I hope the program helped you. If you have a comment or question you'd like to ask us, we'd love to hear from you. You can leave us a voicemail on our listener line at area code 248-686-2256. Or drop us an email with your question or comment to divorcesourceradio@gmail.com. New programs are available every week on divorcesourceradio.com, as well as iTunes, BlackBerry, Stitcher, and all over the web. If you'd like to be notified when new programs are available, you can follow us on Twitter. Our follow word is Divorce Source. Also, if you're not listening from our website, I invite you to stop by divorcesourceradio.com, where you'll find a complete program archive. If you're looking for a specific subject, simply type it into our search engine, and chances are you'll find what you're looking for. We also have other resources available at our website as well. And while you're on our website, click on the Facebook icon and join the growing Divorce Source Radio Facebook community. Thanks for listening. Until next time, make it a great week and stay healthy. I'm Steve Peck.